Hi everyone, Z here once again. Alright, in this video we're looking at nested validation, which is a sequel to the previous video we did, which is on Jakarta validation. Alright, this is very necessary when you have custom objects that have some nested objects. With that being said, let's get into the video. Alright, so we're back with the project, which is everything Spring Boot. So let's quickly open up our details. So what I'm going to do very quickly, I'm just going to go to our controller, which is the last one we used, or the previous one we used in actually checking or validating these annotations or these constraints. So what I will do is to basically go in and create another DTO. Right, I think before we do that, let's just quickly just do a quick recap. All right, a quick recap is, I mentioned to you, if you want to find this, just command click or control click, then click this object here or this symbol. Once you do so, it will show you all the constraints that are very much available that you can use, right? And on each of them, you have some documentation which tells you what you can apply it on. In this case, for size, it can work on map, on collection, and on chart sequence, which we know as string. All right, with that being said, let's quickly get into it to actually work on the nested validation. So what I will do, as I was proceeding, I will just go in here and create a class called metadata. I'll probably just make it a record. I try to use both interchangeably so that we'll get used to it easily. So what I would do is that I'm going to add three different fields in here. The first one I'm going to add will be a string sector. The next one will be a string brand name, and the last one will be a big decimal, and I'm going to add minimum net worth. All right, so that basically just works. All right, now the beautiful thing is, we are just going to add in the same constraints we already know. So we're just going to go in and add not blank. Remember, I mentioned something pretty cool about not blank. The reason I love using not blank for strings, it handles not empty, it handles not null, and it handles white space character. So that is why I prefer not blank to just using not null or not using not empty on sector. All right, so let's go in and just say sector is required. All right, so here also I'll say not blank, and I'll say message brand name is required. And here I'm just going to place in what we already used in the last video, which will be a decimal mean, and the value I want here will be, let's just say 500,003. Yes, and the message I'm going to add in here will be minimum net worth must be greater than 500,000. All right, I hope that is cool. So what we're just going to do is just to copy this. Once you copy this, just go into a sample request and place it, embed it within a sample request, and I just call it metadata. Now, this is where the magic comes in. You must add at valid. If you don't add this, it will not work. You must add at valid. So what it does is, when you add at valid, it basically just scans through, it recognizes that it's a nested object, goes through and look for all the annotations, and then basically bring it out. You would see, once it's throwing the error, you see the error coming back as metadata dot what you have in here, dot sector. So metadata dot sector, metadata dot brand name, because that is how it was basically written. Though we could basically override that, but not in this video. All right, with that being said, let's just go ahead and test it out, as simple as it is. So we already have, let's go to my Scratch. I love using my Scratches, right? Remember, this is the same thing as using your Postman, right? I just want to use everything within the same context of my IDE, so I don't have to bring up another tool. All right, so I come in here, so I just put this to the right, I split to the right, I remove this, then let's go to metadata and see what is required. All right, so we have metadata, cool. Then we have sector, and sector, let's say sector is a fintech. All right, that's cool. Then let's bring in brand name, and brand name will just say let's just say Z Industries. All right, then finally we have the minimum net worth. And the minimum net worth, let's deliberately break it. All right, so I'm going to break this one, just placing something like 600, let's say 60,000. All right, placing 60,000. Let's just go in and run this application. Now the application is pretty much started, and let's just hit this. You see this is broken, and let's see the error. The error is minimum net worth must be greater than 500,000. I hope that's pretty much clear. So now we are seeing things are basically working, and as you can see, if you just move a little bit to the back, you see it's saying metadata dot network, which is the field, right? I know somebody may be asking, hey, these errors are too long, can we not format it to be something better? We'll get to that in the next video, right? I'm just trying to take things step by step. All right, let's go in and then place a 600,000 here. Let's run it now. You see everything works. Now let's go in here and break this. I'm just going to place in white space character here, right? And let's just run this. You see, this is the beauty of using not blank. Not blank recognizes that you don't want white space character, and it says brand name is required. So that's basically how it works. Nested objects are that simple, right? I'll just go over it again. All you need to do is to create the nested object you want to place in, embed it within the parent Pojo. Remember, it could be as nested as possible, because it's possible you have something like metadata, and within metadata you have something like contact details, which is also another object. Just place add valid on it and it will scan through. Just keep going deeper and deeper till it gets to the root object. I hope that's pretty much clear. So all you need to do, ensure you have add valid in here, which is what makes it go in here to basically check all these annotations. All right, so that is all. That's basically all you have for nested validation. Nothing more difficult than that. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.